You know that feeling, right? Where you feel like you've got the English grammar down, maybe you've learned tons of words, but then you actually try to speak and it's like nothing comes out. Your brain just hits a wall.
Oh, absolutely. That frustration, the sense of knowing it intellectually, but struggling to actually use it in a real conversation. Yeah, that's something so many learners run into.
It really is. And if that sounds like you, well, you're definitely in the right place today.
It's like knowing how a car works, but you keep stalling it, you know?
Exactly. And that's what we're really digging into today. This isn't just general advice. This deep dive is specifically for you to help you get past that speaking hurdle. Think of it as a bit of a shortcut, maybe, to understanding one of the biggest challenges.
And that challenge, often it really boils down to this habit we have of thinking in our native language first and then trying to translate everything word for word into English.
Right. So our mission today is pretty clear. We want to unpack why that translation habit is such a barrier to speaking fluently. And more importantly, we're going to get into some really practical things, techniques you can actually start using like right away to begin thinking directly in English.
Yeah, the goal here is to help make your speaking feel more automatic, more natural, and honestly, just less exhausting mentally.
Definitely less exhausting. And we're pulling these ideas from a really focused coaching session, something that really targets these first crucial steps towards fluency.
It's packed with practical stuff, really designed to tackle this specific issue head on.
Okay, so let's start there. This whole idea of translating being bad for fluency, it kind of makes sense, but why exactly? What's the real problem with just, converting your thoughts?
Well, the main issue is that languages just don't work like that. They're not simple codes for each other. English, like any language, has its own unique way of putting sentences together, its own expressions, its own way of organizing ideas. Our source material really stresses this.
Right, so you can't just swap words out and expect it to sound natural.
Exactly. You might end up with something that's grammatically okay, technically, but it just sounds off, awkward. Not how a native speaker would say it at all.
Like idioms, I guess? You can't translate this literally.
That's a perfect example. Try translating an idiom word for word, and usually the meaning just vanishes or becomes complete nonsense. It shows languages package meaning differently.
Yeah, like trying to translate a joke literally, it almost never works.
And besides the awkwardness, there's the inefficiency factor. It's just slow.
How so?
Well, think about it. Your brain has to do extra work. First, form the thought in language A. Second, search for the English words and the right grammar. Third, actually say it.
That sounds, really draining, like extra mental steps for everything you want to say.
It is. It's taxing. That's why learners often feel so tired after speaking English for a while. It's this constant mental juggling act.
And that explains the pauses too, right? The hesitation while you're doing that internal translation.
Precisely. Fluency means cutting out that middleman. The thought connects more directly to the English words. That's the aim, more spontaneous.
Okay, so translation is the villain here. We get it. But it's such an ingrained habit for so many people. How do you even start to break it? Our source gives some really concrete first steps, doesn't it?
It does. And the very first one is actually deceptively simple. It's just simple word association.
Word association, meaning?
Meaning you start just naming things around you directly in English. Look around your room right now. What do you see?
Okay. Bed, window, lamp, book.
Exactly. Just the single words. The key is don't translate in your head first. See the object, think the English word directly.
So bypass the native language step completely.
Yes, you're building a direct link.
Object, English word. No detour. It's like creating a new pathway in your brain.
That makes sense. It's like starting super small, just building those basic connections. And the source says keep it simple at first, right? Just the words. Just the words to start. Then, once that feels a bit more comfortable, you add a tiny bit more. Short descriptions.
Okay, so like instead of just book.
Maybe the book is on the table.
Uh-huh.
Or see a car. The car's red. Or the car is fast. Still very short, very simple sentences.
I'd read it. So still short and sweet. Basic structure. The goal isn't perfect grammar yet, just getting used to forming any kind of thought directly in English.
Exactly. Building that very first bridge, making that initial connection between an idea and English without relying on translation. It's about starting to make basic patterns automatic.
Okay, what's next? The source mentioned something about narrating your day. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, this one's quite powerful. It's basically giving yourself a running commentary of what you're doing, but silently, in your head, in English.
So if I'm making coffee.
You think, I'm making coffee.
Yeah.
Getting dressed. I am putting on my shoes. Simple, present, continuous, usually. Describe the action as it happens.
Like being your own sports commentator, but for everyday life. Sort of internal play-by-play.
Kind of, yeah. And doing that consistently, you're training your brain to process your immediate reality through English. You're making English the language for that moment.
Okay, I can see how that would build the habit. And then there's the advice about responding immediately. That feels like it might be harder in a real conversation.
It definitely takes practice and a bit of courage, maybe, but it's crucial for breaking the translation habit while speaking. The idea is when someone asks you something in English, try to answer right away. Don't translate the question. Don't translate your answer. Just respond.
So if someone says, "How are you?" you just jump in with, "I'm good," or "great," or "not bad," without that pause to think it through in your first language.
Precisely. Those quick, natural replies sound much more fluent. And importantly, they help you stop relying on that slow, deliberate translation process. It builds confidence in the English you already know.
Trusting your instincts a bit more.
Exactly. And the last technique sort of builds on the narration idea. It's about using English for your wider internal monologue.
You mean like planning your day or making mental lists?
Yes. Make English the default for those internal thoughts too. Thinking about your shopping. I need to buy milk and eggs. Planning your schedule. At 10 a.m. I have a meeting.
So really trying to live inside the language mentally as much as possible.
That's the goal. It's immersive. You're constantly reinforcing English even when you're not talking to anyone. You're making it your brain's go-to language.
It sounds like that would make speaking eventually feel much less like effort, more automatic.
That's exactly it. Over time, thinking in English becomes more natural, just like in your first language. The speaking follows from that.
Okay, so those are the core techniques to start shifting your thinking. But the source also mentioned something else interesting, how native speakers actually think differently or structure their thoughts differently.
Right. It's not just about the words and grammar rules. Fluency also involves understanding the sort of characteristic ways native English speakers organize and express ideas.
And English often leans towards being more direct, maybe.
Generally, yes, especially in everyday conversation. One key point the source makes is about sentence length. Native speakers often use shorter, more direct sentences.
Can you give an example?
Sure. The source contrasts something like, if it's not too much trouble, would you be able to assist me with this particular task? Which is very formal and indirect
Right.
with what a native speaker would probably say, which is just, can you help me with this? Or even more casually, hey, I need help with this. Much more concise.
Okay, so getting straight to the point more often. That's something to aim for when practicing thinking in English too, then.
Definitely. And related to that is using short, natural replies. We don't always answer in full sentences.
Like your "how are you" example. You wouldn't usually say, "I'm doing well, thank you. My day has been quite satisfactory so far."
Exactly. You just say, pretty good, or busy but good, or not bad. Quick, unscripted reactions. That sounds natural.
It signals comfort with the language, doesn't it? Not needing to construct everything perfectly.
It does. And then there's the whole topic of filler words.
The ums and us and ooh and...
Yeah, words like, well, like, actually. I mean, they're not just mistakes. They actually serve a purpose in spoken English.
What purpose?
Well, they give you a moment to think without just going silent, which can feel awkward. They can also make you sound a bit more relaxed, more conversational.
So instead of just a flat, I don't know, maybe, I'm not really sure, or, well, I don't actually know, it sounds a bit softer.
Exactly. It cushions it a bit. Now, you don't want to overuse them, obviously, or you sound hesitant. But understanding they exist is part of understanding natural speech.
Makes sense. And the source also had a really important reminder about mistakes, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely crucial. Don't fear mistakes.
Yeah.
They're going to happen. They're not just normal, they're how you learn.
Right. Every error is a chance to figure something out.
Exactly. The more you practice thinking and speaking, pushing through those moments, the more natural it gets, and fewer mistakes happen over time anyway. It's all part of the process.
Okay, great. So we've covered why translation holds you back. We've got a toolkit of techniques to start thinking in English, and some insights into how native speakers communicate. Now, the source wraps up with a challenge, right? Something practical for you, the listener, to do.
That's right. Time to put this into action. It's a simple 1-hour challenge. For the next hour, starting whenever you can, the challenge is just to name everything you see around you. In English, silently, in your head. No translation.
Just look around wherever you are, home, work, on the bus, and mentally label things: chair, table, tree, computer, phone.
Exactly. Just direct object to English word association. And if you're feeling up for it, take it one small step further. Add those simple action descriptions.
So if you're drinking water,
Think, I'm drinking water. Walking down the street. I'm walking. Keep it simple, present tense about what's happening right now.
okay. And the source actually wants to hear how it goes, right?
Yeah, they encourage you to leave a comment, maybe share just one thing you described in English and how it felt. Was it easy? Hard? Did it feel weird? That feedback is useful for everyone.
It's a great way to make it real, to actually engage with this. And of course, if you found this deep dive helpful,
Then definitely follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next ones, and maybe share with friends who are also working on their English fluency.
absolutely. And speaking of next time, we've got a preview. We'll be diving into strategies for learning vocabulary faster.
Ooh, that's always a big topic. Finding efficient ways to build your word bank. Sounds like another really practical session.
Definitely one to look out for. Okay, so let's just quickly recap the main points from today. The big message: try to stop translating in your head if you want to speak more fluently and naturally. It just slows you down and sounds less authentic.
And we gave you those practical steps. Naming objects, using short descriptions, narrating your actions, responding immediately, and using English for your internal monologue.
Plus, we touched on how native speakers often use shorter sentences, quick replies, and yeah, even those filler words sometimes. Understanding that helps too.
And doing all this, practicing these techniques, helps tackle that frustration. We started with knowing English, but not being able to speak it smoothly.
It's about making English your thinking language.
Right. So here's a final thought to leave you with. As you start trying to shift your internal language to English, think about how that might affect other parts of your English skill. Could thinking more directly in English actually help your reading speed? Or maybe make writing feel easier? Just be mindful, maybe over the next day or so, of what language your thoughts are in. See what you notice.